Thank you, Dana. What an awesome job. Thank you very much. And thank you again to Lincoln University ROTC Color Guard. Thank you. Great job. In just a minute, we will be joined by Missouri State Senator Brian Williams, who will share with us some history behind Black History Month. Senator Williams grew up in Ferguson, Missouri. After attaining his undergraduate degree from Southeast Missouri State University, he went on to earn master's degrees in public administration and legal studies from Washington University in St. Louis. It was studying government and public health policy that led Senator Williams to pursue a career in public service. He was elected to the Missouri Senate in 2018 and represents the wonderful people of the 14th Senatorial District in St. Louis County. Senator Williams, thank you for your commitment to public service. It's an honor to have you here today. And now everyone, please help me welcome to the podium Senator Brian Williams.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Director Zellers. So we can clap it up one more time for Director Zellers. He's done a great job. It's a tremendous honor to be with you all. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, I'm just making sure everybody's awake. It's great to be able to come up and introduce the 57th governor here in the state of Missouri. Black History Month is something that's extremely important, not only to me, but I'm confident everyone in this room and throughout the entire state of Missouri. It's also a tremendous honor to serve as the only Black man in the Missouri State Senate. Thank you. So I'd like to say a little bit about our governor and someone I've gotten to know and has become a friend, and we've been able to talk about a lot of different things. Clearly, I've never been the governor of the state of Missouri, but he's been a state senator at one point in time. So his insight and thoughtfulness in collaborating with the Missouri Senate has been highly appreciated. Governor Parson, as we know, is a veteran who served 6 years in the United States Army. He served more than 22 years in law enforcement as a sheriff in Polk County. He also served the Missouri House of Representatives from 2005 to 2011. He also served in the Missouri Senate from 2011 to 2017, and as Lieutenant Governor 2017 to 2018. Now as a governor, Governor Parson and First Lady Teresa, who lives in Bolivar, Missouri. Together they have 2 grown children, 6 grandchildren, and have raised a farm in Hickory County. The governor graduated from Wheatland High School in Wheatland, Missouri. He's also a small business owner when he's not being the governor, which I'm sure he's probably being the governor the majority of the time. He also currently owns and operates a cow and calf operation near their hometown in Bolivar. The governor has several passions. Clearly for sports, as we're proud to have the Kansas City Chiefs. Agriculture, most importantly, Christ. And last, the people of Missouri. Can we please welcome the 57th governor and my friend, Governor Mike Parson.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good job, proud of it. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Please be seated. Please be seated. And what an honor it is to be here to speak to everyone this morning. I know we got a lot of state employees in here this morning, and I think this is really the first, I want to say the big kickoff that we're doing in the state of Missouri. And I know a lot of my directors are here this morning, so let me just say, first of all, thank you all for being here today, showing your appreciation. And if you'd please stand, if you're one of my directors, would you please just stand and wave to the crowd this morning? I also have some statewide candidates here this morning, and statewide elected officials. I say candidates, I guess I'm in political mode here a little bit, but I better be careful with that at work, hadn't I? But just want to be recognized, and I appreciate them coming here this morning. But I know the Secretary of State's here, Jay Ashcroft. Jay? The Lieutenant Governor, I know he's coming up, but you're going to be speaking, but the Lieutenant Governor's with us, Mike. Everybody here, when I was sitting there watching this morning, starting this off, and I was looking at the screen behind me and where it says, believe, achieve, and succeed. If that's not a life lesson in everyday life for all of us, we ought to all be paying attention to that right there, because that's kind of what it's all about at the end of the day, is those three words there. They summed it up pretty good. Whoever put that up there has got it right on that. And I just, I think to be here for Black History Month, to be part of this, the first time I was ever around a black person, let me just put it that way, was in the United States Army when I was 19 years old. You know, first time ever met on that. And the one thing I will say that military experience will do for you, especially when you're my age bracket, Vietnam era, somewhere in there, I guarantee you when you go into military training, the first thing you're going to learn about, Deron, is teamwork. Doesn't matter what color anybody's skin is. It really doesn't matter. That's one of the first things I learned. And then if you want to go on into a combat situation, and if you're in a foxhole, trust me, there is no barriers. It's about working together for a common good. And then when you find out they become friends, you realize that it's about the American dream for all of us. No matter where you come from, wherever you might have started, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether you're from an urban area, whether you're downtown, or whether you're from rural Missouri or Boot Hill area, you name it. It's about all of us should be figuring out how do we make life in general better. And I always believe each one of us have a calling to do that. And learn from our history. Learn from the things that have happened in the past. And how do we do it better? How do we show appreciation for everyone? You know, how do we give everybody a little hope? You know, I go downtown and Martin Luther King Boulevard in St. Louis comes to mind because I've been down there a few times. Boots on the ground, live in a different environment than probably most of us in this room live, you know. You realize, you know, when you go down there, what you get when you come out of there, a little chance, a little shot. You know, that's what you want. And all of us in this room today, we're celebrating Black History Month, but it's much bigger than just 1 month. You know, it is, that's right. We ought to be standing up together every day trying to make sure everybody gets a little hope, gets a little shot at the American dream. And that's going to come through education, it's going to come through jobs, but you know, it's wonderful to be able to represent the state of Missouri from my capacity as governor and the things I get to do. But, you know, this started long before I was the governor. Some of the things we started recognizing in the Black History Month. And it goes back to actually President Gerald Ford. Was the official recognition of Black History Month in 1976. 1976. And since then, every American president has designated February as Black History Month. And it's just, for me, it's a great honor to be here today to do that. And I'm going to get to expand that to the state level. Then presidents don't get to do all the good things. Some of us governors get to do good things too when we declare Missouri as Black History Month here, and we're going to do here just shortly. But it's really a time to honor and celebrate the many achievements and contributions of African Americans to our state and our nation. And I understand that the theme today is to believe, achieve, and succeed. And we are also honored today and excited to have a businessman, public servant, and a former NFL star, and a Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Famer, Deron Cherry, with us here today. How about that for a guest speaker? I'll tell you what, there's no secret where my loyalties lie when my loyalty is to a football team in the state, but this Kansas City Chiefs deal just keeps on giving, Deron. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ride as long as I can ride this horse, I can tell you that. Yeah. And for all of you that, maybe some of you a little over on that eastern side of the state in St. Louis, just let me tell you something else that's kind of cool that I would love to get done. I'll see if I can. Hopefully all of you get to see it. But wouldn't it be pretty cool to have the Stanley Cup and the Lombardi Trophy here in the governor's office at the state capitol in one day? How about that? Brian, you'd be okay with that, would you?
I think I'll be okay.
Good, good. You know, the first time I met Brian was in St. Louis. I remember he told me he was running for office, you know, at the time, and I thought, what an incredible young man to take an interest in politics and to represent what you represented. And when you're sitting there telling me you're the only black man in the Senate, what an honor that is for you to be there to represent that. And I thought at the time I met you, I didn't even think about that at the time, to be right honest about it. I just thought, what a quality guy to be in the Missouri Senate representing the people in your district and the people across your state. And another little secret, Brian is going to be going to Israel with me just in a couple of weeks. He's going to be representing Missouri in Israel, so I'm looking forward to that little trip for all of us here.
Awesome.
Now back to the real guest of honor. A 6-time All-Pro safety. Deron is considered one of the best players in the Kansas City Chiefs history. And I am also the proud owner of a number 20 jersey hanging up with your signature on it. I will also tell you that, Deron. He was named to the All-NFL Decade Team in the 1980s. And in 1988, he received the NFL Players Association's highest honor, the Byron White Humanitarian Award for services to his team, community and country. And I think those are all important because I know he's deeply involved in his community now that I'll talk about, but what he done after that professional life and what he's dedicated to people today to set the example, to be a role model. You know, when sometimes we see so many professional athletes, forget sometimes that somebody's watching them every day. They're a role model to a lot of young men, young women, and a lot of us other elderly people out here too, that we look up to what they do every day. I think of somebody like Deron, a professional athlete, how small a group that really is. I mean, when you really think of it, of all the people in the United States of America, to be one of 53 on a team and to represent who you are, where you came from, to have the ability to be something very few people get to do. But what an opportunity it is to make a difference in people's lives, not just on that football field, but what you can do before and what you can do after. What a message that is for everybody. And for him to be here today at this kickoff, man, that's a neat deal for all of us to be here. I'm looking forward to when Deron comes up here and he speaks. I'm kind of looking forward to it and hope I get a little more inspiration to do a little better job on that. So Deron has also been a spokesman for many nonprofit organizations. He is the founder of Score One for Health, a program that provides health screening for more than 13,000 children in the Kansas City metropolitan area on that. He is also the founder and board member of the Deron Charitable Foundation, a former owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm glad that's former on that too. I want to make sure your loyalty is where it needs to be there, Deron.
They are.
And the managing general partner of the United Beverage Company. Deron is a successful businessman, a dedicated public servant, an accomplished athlete, and I will say he's also an accomplished individual, a man that stands up for who he is, stands up through his faith, and he represents all people to make things better for everyone, and he is a great role model. It is an honor and privilege, and if you would please give him a Missouri welcome, state welcome today. Here's Deron Cherry as our guest speaker.
Mic on? Can you hear me? We need to turn it up a little bit. There we go. There we go. Thank you. I'm really humbled to be here before this crowd. I want to first thank Sarah for inviting me, Sarah Steelman. And to the governor and lieutenant governor, thank you so much. We've known each other for quite some time, and I appreciate all the work and the hard work they do. A lot of people don't realize they got a tough job. It's hard to please everybody. But their character, their work ethic, to me, has made this state so much better than it has been. So thank you too for
Thank
your efforts, and all our public servants for what you do every day for the citizens of this great state. Thank you. You know, it says up here, believe, achieve, and succeed, right? Man, that's something special. For me, when I was young, dreaming of maybe possibly being in the NFL one day, or playing, having the opportunity to do that, it was just a dream, right? For me, it was just a dream. And as we celebrate Black History Month, we think about all the great people who came before us, who gave us an opportunity to believe, and an opportunity to achieve, and an opportunity to succeed. And for me, thinking about Martin Luther King, who's always present when I was a little kid, and my mom used to tell me all the time, here's a great man, study him. But also, there were other great men, people you've never heard about, who taught me lifelong lessons that today are still inside of me, that have made me a success. A man by the name of Osa Meekins, who was my first football coach, who I remember sitting on a bus at halftime, and we were getting our butts beat, like 50-0. And we walk on the bus, and we're all sitting there with our heads down. I'm 9 years old. And he walks on that bus, and he says, pick your head up. Pick your head up. There are no losers here. Nobody on this bus is a loser. If you want to change your situation, you go back out there and bust your butt and work hard to get the job done. And he looked at us and said, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I was 9 years old. But that statement there had an impact in my life that I knew. At first, I didn't understand it. But as I got into high school and I got into college, I would soon understand what those words meant to me and how they were going to forge something in me that would be lasting. Because I wasn't the most gifted athlete, I had to work for what I got. In high school, I became a quarterback. Quarterback is a leader. But I wasn't doing well in school. I was hanging out with my buddies, doing what we all do, try to get in trouble, right? Have our parents get mad at us. But I realized as a leader, I had to set an example. And so I challenged myself in high school to be a straight A student by the end of my junior year. I was able to achieve that. Fortunate enough for me, I was a good football player. I was a quarterback. We won state championships. I got an opportunity to get looked at by colleges. Decided to go to Rutgers University. My brother had went to school there. It was a great academic school. They were paying for my education, so it was free. That's always good. And so in that, I understood what leadership was and what it meant and what it could lead to, an opportunity. Just an opportunity. And I had a great career at Rutgers University, made All East. I was a punter there. All of a sudden, during the draft that year, my senior year, nobody drafted me, but the Kansas City Chiefs called and said, hey, we'd like to sign you as a punter. Would you be interested? At the time, Ted Cottrell, who was my defensive coordinator at Rutgers, had just taken a job with Marv Levy, who was the head coach at the Chiefs, and said, hey, come to Kansas City. There's an opportunity for you. They were looking for punters. They were also looking for safeties that year. They drafted 3 safeties that year. But I signed as a free agent punter out of Rutgers. That year, I made it to the last cut of that team. But before that, there was a moment in my life that happened. because when I came back from minicamp that year, I got my letter in the mail. It said I was supposed to report 2 days before camp. But when I had left minicamp in Kansas City, they told me I was going to come back 2 weeks prior to that to get acclimated to this hot Missouri weather, right? And I can remember this as it was yesterday. I get this letter. I walk upstairs. I opened it up. I was in my mother's bedroom reading this letter, and it said, report 2 days before training camp. I said, well, something's wrong. They told me I was supposed to come in 2 weeks before, not 2 days. And I'm sitting there thinking, 2 days, that means they're really not going to give you a chance. They're going to bring you back, but then I think they're going to look at you and let you go. Now, my punting wasn't what it should have been, and I will admit that. We had a new special teams coach, Frank Gans, and he was a big proponent on a 2-step punter. I was a 2.5-step punter. I had never had a punt blocked in my entire life. I got off every punt that I ever attempted. I averaged over 43 yards a punt in college. So I thought I knew what I was doing. Evidently, he wanted a certain style punter. So I knew the handwriting was on the wall unless I did something. So at that time, I had to make a choice. We all sit in here at times where we come to a crossroads, and we got to make a choice, a decision. That decision may change your life, whatever you decide to do. But if you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen. I remember picking up the phone, calling Kansas City, asking to speak with Coach Levy. And I said to Coach Levy, I know my punting wasn't what it should have been, but I understand that. Coach Gans was trying to change my style. But I played safety in college. I played quarterback in college and in high school. I can do a number of positions. And at the time, it was only a 45-man roster. So the more you could do, the better off you were. So I had to sell myself in order to explain to him that there's many opportunities that I could handle on this football team. He responded, let me get back to you. Now I'm sitting there in my mother's bedroom, shaken and nervous that I had did something that was totally out of character for me, to pick up that phone and call Coach Levy. But I knew that if I didn't, my life would be different. He called me back in 30 minutes and said, hey, we're going to bring you in. We're going to let you play safety too. And we're going to give you an opportunity. I played safety. I didn't punt, even though I was a backup punter. I didn't punt that whole year. I made it to the last cut. I was sitting in the locker room, our last preseason game. We were down in Miami at the old Dolphin Stadium. Frank Gans walks up to me just as we're about to go out on the football field. And he says to me, you're going to be returning punts today. I had never returned a punt in my life at all. And I said, are you sure? You want me to return punts? I've never done it. He goes, we know, we want you to do that. So now I'm thinking, this is the last preseason game. So basically what he's trying to do is he's trying to make me cut myself, right? Because I've never done it. If I go out there and I mess up, it's going to be easy for them to get rid of me. Very easy. But the thing they couldn't do is measure what's inside of here, right? All of you have it. You have a will and a desire to succeed, regardless of the circumstances. Sometimes we have to overcome those fears, right? I was shaken. I was nervous. I go out there on the first punt. the ball goes up. Now, if you've ever been back there receiving, which probably none of you have, thank goodness, there's 11 guys on that other team that are coming down there, and they want to knock your head off. That's their job. So the punt goes up, and I'm sitting there staring at it, and I'm thinking, God, what am I going to do? I went to Rutgers University. I'm pretty smart. What would a Rutgers grad do? I raised my hand and did a fair catch, caught the ball, put it down, walked off the field. I get out there the next time. I caught it the second time. I ran for 5 yards. Next time, he tells me, you're good. You don't have to go out. But what did I do? I took a negative, turned it into a positive. Something that they thought I couldn't do, I was able to do. So I took the decision out of their hands. I made it tougher for them to get rid of me. I came back in on Monday. I knew I had made the team because 45-man roster, they always keep 7 defensive backs. They only kept 6. But that particular year, they had drafted 2 tight ends, Willie Scott, Marvin Harvey. They had Al Dixon, who was a starter, and Ed Beckman, who was a special teams captain. They weren't going to get rid of him. So 4 tight ends, 6 defensive backs. I walk in, ready to go out on the field. They say, go talk to Les Miller. He's our pro personnel director. I think he's congratulating me on making the team. I walk into his office. He goes, Deron, I'm sorry. We got to let you go. You're the last player we're cutting. I was so upset because we were going home to Pennsylvania. My family lived in New Jersey. Our first game was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the teams I love because Franco Harris, I watched him when I was a little kid play against my high school. And this was my opportunity, right? I'm thinking I'm making. Now I'm going home. I'm cut. Last player cut. I go home. I go to Newark, New Jersey, where my roommate, college roommate was, spent the weekend with him. I get a call Sunday night from my mom. Kansas City Chiefs called. They need you to come back to Kansas City. There's a guy that got hurt in the game. So I get up, drive back home, get on the plane the next day. They sent a runner whose name was Alan Wright. Alan Wright is now the head equipment manager for the Chiefs. He picked me up at the airport, took me in, dropped me in, walked into Jim Schauf's office. He was our general manager. As soon as I walked in, I'm excited, thinking that, hey, this is going to be great. I walk in his office. He goes, hey, our player wasn't as hurt as we thought he was going to be, so we can't sign you. True story. Happened. So here I am in the office, don't know what to do, just flew out to Kansas City. They tell me they're not going to sign me. Was I disappointed? Of course I was. Gary Green, who was our all-pro cornerback at the time, who's a member of the Chiefs Hall of Fame, took me under his wing. And this is what I like about Kansas City and what I liked about the Chiefs organization. Here's an all-pro taking me, a free agent punter, who's trying to play safety, but he takes me and he teaches me. He invests his time in me. Gary Barbaro, another all-pro safety, does the same thing, invests into me, gives me an opportunity. Now, Gary, not even knowing that I play the same position as him, why would he teach me everything he knew? Because that's the type of person he was. So I stayed with Gary for 2 weeks. The Chiefs called me back in and said, hey, if nobody gets hurt, we're going to have to let you go. We have to send you back home. I said, okay. Art still gets hurt the next game. Immediately, they signed me. So now I'm on the team. My first game is in Seattle, running down on kickoffs. Was I excited? Yes. Terribly excited. It's the greatest experience in the world. Like you said, there's not many people that get a chance to play in the National Football League. It's your lifelong dream. Not only for me, but just think about my family, my mom and my dad and my brothers and my sisters, how much that felt to them to be a part of that. It was amazing. My first game in Arrowhead Stadium, we're playing against the Raiders. And who do I look out there? There's Cliff Branch lined up. He was the fastest receiver in the league at that time against the Raiders. I used to watch him every Sunday afternoon back home in New Jersey. Chiefs and Raiders, because it was the late game. You always saw them. And here I was playing against Cliff Branch. Eric Harris, who was a cornerback, was supposed to line up on him and knock him out. He didn't do that. All of a sudden, Cliff Branch is running down the field and it's on me. It's my first game. Now, if I make a mistake, everybody in the stands is going to see it on TV. I'm nervous. Here he is, the fastest guy. And they always taught us, hey, if you think the ball's going to be thrown to you, look at the receiver, because he's going to tell you with his eyes, because his eyes are going to get big when the ball comes. So I'm watching his eyes, and there's nothing happening. All of a sudden, I keep watching. All of a sudden, his eyes get big and big and big. So I know the ball's coming. So I jumped inside of him, ran in. The ball came to the middle. A flag gets thrown on the field. I'm thinking they're going to call pass interference on me. Gary Green runs over to me as I'm shouting at the official, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. He goes, it's not on you. It's on him. I got a big chest. I walked off the field and go, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the guy now. I'm the guy. But that experience taught me that I belonged, that I could play in the National Football League. My next 2 years, Gary Barbaro, the USFL, if anybody remembers that, it was a football league that came in. Gary Barbaro decided not to sign with the Chiefs. We had a coaching change. John Makovic came in. When he brought his defensive coordinator was Bud Carson, who was the architect of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense when they won all their Super Bowls. Walt Corey was our secondary coach. Walt Corey became the defensive coordinator at the Buffalo Bills for a lot of years when they went to the Super Bowl. Gary Barbaro leaves. The Chiefs are saying, hey, we got to find a safety. Walt Corey stood up for me. He says, no, we don't. We got somebody here on our team that can play that position. All he's looking for is an opportunity. You see, they always told me that, first of all, I wasn't big enough, I wasn't fast enough, and I wasn't strong enough to play in the National Football League. That was all the negatives that they placed on me. That's how they measure you, by numbers and statistics. But what they can't measure is what you have inside. Your willingness to pay a price to get yourself better. So I went and worked with a speed guy. 50 years old, was a world-class champion in his age group. He taught me how to run fast. So when I ran 4.9 in the 40 my rookie year because I was a punter, and then I came back after working with him, I was able to run 4.5 in the 40. I took that negative away from him. They couldn't judge me on my speed anymore. I got bigger in the weight room, so they couldn't judge me on my size. So what did they have to judge me on? Was my performance, right? And all I was looking for, and like most of you, all you look for in your life is what? An opportunity, right? An opportunity to prove what you can do and what your worth is. And what you have in here, you put into action because you worked for it. You've allowed yourself to understand that if I'm going to do something right, I'm going to have to pay a price. But what is the price you're willing to pay? Those hot days in Missouri when I used to go out there and work out, nobody wanted to come with me. It's 100 degrees. Nobody wanted to run. I'm out there running up and down the stadium steps by myself. And you ask the question, well, why are you doing that? I'm doing that because I want to get better. I don't want to be average. I want to be great. I don't want to be a guy that makes it in the league for 2 years. I want to have a long career. How do you do that? You make sacrifices. You pay a price. You look up here and you say, God, believe. Who do you believe in? You believe in yourself first. You believe in yourself. When nobody else believes in you, you believe in you. Because inside of you, there's this strong sense of believing that you can accomplish anything you want if you don't give up on yourself. I see many people who give up and quit. And I tell kids all the time when I talk to them, it goes, what's the hardest thing you go through? I said, the hardest thing is not quitting on yourself. Because the first time you quit, it becomes easier and easier and easier to quit. And what happens is you don't build up that endurance that you need to overcome adversity when adversity comes your way. If you don't give up and you don't quit, all of a sudden you look for those challenges. When they hit you, you're ready to stare them in the face and look at them and say, hey, I'm not going to quit, but I'm going to accomplish this goal. It may take you 1 hour. It may take you 2 hours. It may take you 10 hours. But your mental psyche is going to say, I'm not going to give up until I accomplish what I want to accomplish. And in that, you build that personal endurance. You build that sense of awareness in you that you're never going to give up, you're never going to quit. And I didn't want to quit because I wanted to make sure that my teammates knew that when they stepped on the field with me, that they were getting 100% every single play that I was out there, that they could count on me, that I was accountable to them as much as they were accountable to me. That's what teamwork is all about. That's what being a good teammate is all about. When you make those sacrifices and you make that commitment to doing your best every single day, you walk through these doors. It's the same way in football, in athletics. You accomplish that. And then nobody can take that away from you. Because you know when you walk out of that room or you walk off of that field or you walk out of your offices at night, you can turn around and look in the mirror and say, I gave it my best today. I did everything I could to make not only my life better, but the people you serve better. That's what it was all about for me. Achieving, right? What did I achieve by doing that? Taking all those negatives, turn them into a positive. The first year I started for the Chiefs, I took over for Gary Barbaro. Midway through the season, I'm leading the league in interceptions. Who would have thought this guy's coming in, taking over for an all-pro, and now he's leading the league in interceptions, and everybody's looking at him saying, God, he's a great safety. And for me, it happened. By the end of that year, I was voted to my first Pro Bowl. Can you imagine getting the word? You're sitting in the locker room with all your teammates, and the coach walks in after all the voting's been done. Now, these are votes that are taken by players on the other team, coaches, because your teammates can't vote for you. It has to be somebody else. And what happened? Coach comes in and says, hey, we've got one guy that I'm so happy for because he paid a price. And he's been elected to his first Pro Bowl as a starter, right? As a starter. And then he calls my name. And I'm sitting there and I'm bawling. I'm crying. First thing I did, we had a payphone in the back of the locker room. I went to that payphone. I called my mom. And I said, Mom, I know you've never been anywhere, but you're going to Hawaii with me, and we're going to the Pro Bowl. She said, what? She had never been on a plane. But I said, I'm going to fly to Philadelphia. I'm going to pick you up. You and I are going to fly, and we're going to go to Hawaii, and you're going to have the best week of your life. I was able to do that for her. Thank you. Now the hardest part came, right? How do you maintain that? Right? That was just one. I went to 6 consecutive ones. And I was voted as an alternate in the 7th one. How do you do that? After the first time, you just forget about everything and you come back in and you work harder the next time. Then the next year, you work harder. and you keep doing that, right? What's it say up there? You achieve and you succeed, right? It's not easy. But if you have a will inside of you to get it done, it will happen. You just have to believe and work hard and give that effort every single day. Kansas City Chiefs gave me an opportunity that I will never, ever forget. Marv Levy gave me that opportunity. I wouldn't be here with you today if he didn't pick up that phone when I called and say, hey, Deron, we're going to bring you back in. Can you imagine that? How different my life would have been. When I retired from the Chiefs, the first person that called me, I went downstairs, public relations office. They said, Deron, you have a phone call. I go pick up the phone. First person that called me, Marv Levy, says, I just want to congratulate you on a great career. And I'm sitting there thinking, I would have had no career had it not been for Coach Levy. Making that decision to say, come back and spend 2 weeks getting ready, getting prepared. And so that led me to other things. Led me to being involved in the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise, having an opportunity to be the first African-American player to ever own an NFL team. Nobody else had done it. But here I was, a nobody, right? Because I was up against people like Walter Payton. Everybody knows Walter Payton, who he is. He was one of my best friends. And I always thought that he was going to get one in St. Louis, and it didn't happen. But it happened for me in Jacksonville. Think about that. It's amazing to have that opportunity to do that, to play and to be in ownership. But my biggest passion and my biggest purpose is serving, being a helpful servant to those that need it. We started Score One for Health. We screen 13,000 kids a year. We just opened up, we did that in Kansas City. Now we have another one that we're opening up in Joplin, Missouri now. So we're screening kids for health. Because my focus is, these kids go to school, they're not sure what it feels like to be healthy. I don't care what socioeconomic background they come from, but let me tell you something. They can't get out of their situation unless they're healthy. So we want to make sure that when they go to school, they're healthy, so they can learn, so they can build a foundation in their life, not on sports, but on education, because education is the greatest equalizer that can get them out of a situation that they're in. So we spend time with them. We also spend time with kids that have cancer, Camp Quality. We spend time with them. We send them to camp every summer for a week. Can you imagine 1 week to have fun instead of having to be worrying about what's my next dose of chemo? You know, where's my next doctor's appointment? Just let them have fun. We take the Chiefs up there. We do Play 60 with them. We serve them dinner. They have a ball and a dance, and it's just an amazing thing to be able to help them. We work with a group called Answering the Call that helps provide opportunities and assistance to our first responders who give us an opportunity to do what we do every day to protect us. We work with them. I work with an organization called Car Santa, where we provide automobiles for people, our veterans, who come back from war, who don't need a handout, they just need a hand up. So we provide them with vehicles. And then we work with every group that we can to try to provide help, because that's what we do. We want everybody to have an opportunity to succeed, and we can do that. You know, there's many people who I know are here that do a lot in their communities. But that's what we're here for, right? To help each other out. as we celebrate African American History Month, think about that. What can we each and every one of us do to make the lives of everybody in this state, in our community, better? By just saying, it might be as simple just saying, hello, how are you doing today? Some people don't talk to each other. We have to talk to each other more. We have to be there for each other. And if we are, our community is going to be so much better. Our state is going to be so much better. We have great leadership here. And that is such a blessing, because we know that leadership can be good and can be bad. We have great leadership. So, as we celebrate this month, I want to say, my story isn't unique. It's different, but it's not unique from each and every one of your stories. Each of you can tell the same story that I just told today. Right? Because we all have a story to tell. And we all can be a light for people who need light. Thank you very much.
Great job, great job. I got a proclamation.
Okay.
Deron, there's one thing I'd like to say about you being like everybody else. I don't think very many of us has been an all-pro 6 years in a row. So I don't know that we all fit in there. And the other thing I want to tell you, you kind of dated yourself when you said you went to the back of the locker room and you got on a payphone. Yeah, that kind of dated you on that. Listen, one of the great privileges I get to have as governor of the state of Missouri is to present proclamations for special times. And there couldn't be any more of a special time than Black History Month. So if you would be willing to accept this on the behalf of all the people here in this room today.
Absolutely. And
for the people of the state of Missouri, that we're celebrating Black History Month here in Missouri. If you do that, on my behalf as governor of the state of Missouri, I present this to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, that was great. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Deron. So I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. He's going to finish this up and get us across that finish line with a few closing remarks. So I introduce to you Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe.
Well, thank you, Ken, and it's advice for anybody in the room. If you're ever asked to close out a ceremony following Deron Cherry, do not do it. There's no way you're going to feel better. Thank you so much, Deron, for coming here today. I will tell you just a quick story, and I'll let everybody get out of here. My wife and I'd known Deron. He didn't tell you, he's a very successful businessman. He's an Anheuser-Busch distributor in Kansas City as well. And I'd met him through that business and through his community involvement. He mentioned 2 or 3 things. He's involved in dozens of things in the community across our state, and we are grateful for him giving back to our community. I had a chance to have my wife have dinner with him one time at Kansas City, at Arrowhead Stadium, and after about a half hour, she's not a great sports fan, she looked at him and said, "What is it that you do exactly anyway?" And so that's how Claudia met Deron, and he was very nice to show her his name on the Hall of Fame in the ring on the stadium. Last but not least, we also had the opportunity, this is the 100th anniversary of the Negro League Baseball. That was started in Kansas City, Missouri, at the corner of 18th and Vine and a YMCA that I had the chance to go to about a week ago. And I think it's appropriate to just spend 2 minutes talking about that relationship to the history in the state of Missouri as we celebrate Black History Month. You know, I was there with Frank Williams, who was an all-star, Kansas City Royals, Bob Kendrick, who runs the museum up there, who's a fantastic person, commissioner of Major League Baseball, all these hot shots talking about all this great stuff, and then they wanted me to talk. I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I told the story of John Donaldson, who was born in 1891, and was probably one of the best pitchers ever in the world of baseball. He pitched over 600 games, and think about that. A great pitcher who starts baseball right now will pitch somewhere between 3 and 350 games. John Donaldson pitched over 650 games, winning over 400 games, maybe the most winningest pitcher in all of baseball, and the Monarchs would have credited him for white people coming to watch the black baseball players play because they wanted to see this phenom. This guy who was just the most unbelievable pitcher the sport of baseball has ever seen. And the cool thing about John Donaldson is he's from a little river town right here, right up the road from us, called Glasgow, Missouri. And that's what Missouri is all about. We find that all over, just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And certainly John Donaldson was one of those that played a major role as a Missourian in bridging that gap between white and black and just good baseball players no matter what color their skin was. And that was just cool to be a part of that. And I think it fits well into Black History Month and the 100th anniversary. I'd encourage you, if you're in Kansas City, to go through that museum up there. It's absolutely fantastic. Two quick things in closing. We got some nice gifts. Deron and Senator Williams, if you would come forward. In appreciation, Deron, for you spending your time. Did you bring us a couple cases of Budweiser or anything? Thank you so much. And Senator Williams for spending your time with us today. He missed a couple of votes in the Senate, so we'll gavel him for that later. Thank you, Senator, so much. And then we also have one for the Lincoln ROTC. I will give that to the person who's here representing them. Very proud to have Lincoln University in our backyard. What a great asset we have. Those young men and ladies could come forward. Let's give them another round. So thank you very much for celebrating with us today. We have coffee and cake in room 400, I believe, right around the corner. We'd love to see you and celebrate Black History Month with all of us. We appreciate most of all, speaking on behalf of the Governor, Secretary of State Ashcroft, Senator Williams, and the other elected officials, what Missouri employees do for our customers, our people every day. You're performing great acts. You have similar stories to Deron Cherry in what you do and live and breathe in your life, and we just can't tell you how much it means to us to have you as part of a great team here in the state. Thank you so much. Have a great day.